So I go to Asia first. I ask you why SoftBank is taking that $2 billion stake. Why are they getting Intel to sell more equity to them?
Yeah, there's a lot going on here with Intel, but on the SoftBank front in particular, the founder, Masayoshi Son, has had ambitions in the chip area for a long time. He bought ARM Holdings, of course, the chip designer that's commonplace in all sorts of smartphones, and he has ambitions to be able to compete in AI chips against NVIDIA in particular. They think that they can use some of those designs from ARM to make a much more energy efficient chip that could compete with NVIDIA's chips, particularly for running some of these AI services like ChatGPT in particular. So the idea that SoftBank would put $2 billion into Intel gives them a stake in the company that could be important, perhaps as an investment, but also if Intel is able to develop its foundry business that is making custom chips for other kinds of companies, you could imagine a day when Intel makes AI chips for SoftBank and is able to sell those, and both companies would be able to benefit from taking some of that demand away from NVIDIA as this AI boom really explodes.
And when we think about the foundry business, when we think about manufacturing, that's where the US government wants to lean in. They want domestically made, manufactured chips that ultimately gives them control over the supply chain. But we're hearing from Howard Lutnick that he doesn't want control over Intel in any way. They don't want a governance role here.
Right. Yeah, you make a good point. The U.S. government has wanted to rebuild the domestic semiconductor industry for a number of different reasons. Partly because it's a growth business. It could mean some jobs and some profits for them. But also they don't want to have the strategic risk of having all the advanced semiconductor manufacturing in the world in East Asia, in Taiwan and South Korea in particular. They want to be able to bring that into the United States. And Howard Lutnick alluded this today when he confirmed the nice scoop that we had yesterday about how the U.S. government is looking at taking this 10% stake in Intel. Intel, of course, is really the last major U.S. chip maker standing that has a shot at being able to make those most advanced chips to be able to compete with the likes of TSMC and Samsung in particular. So Lutnick is saying, hey, we may use this CHIPS Act money to convert into equity and then take this 10% stake within Intel. And he's also suggesting that they may do that with some of the other companies that are supposed to be recipients of the CHIPS Act money.
One of them being Micron, for example. You wonder where on earth that would sink in with a TSMC and Samsung. They've also taken CHIPS Act money, Peter. But what's really interesting is whether this gets you the end demand. The reason Lip-Bu Tan pulled back from 14A in many ways was because he was like, I don't want to be that person who just builds it in hopes that they come.
Yeah, this isn't free money, to be clear. Under the Biden administration, they allocated these CHIPS Act awards. Those were supposed to be grants. This was supposed to be money that was coming in anyway. There was no talk about these companies giving up equity to be able to get those billions of dollars. So the Trump administration is trying to change the calculus here, where they still will give you the amount of money that you were supposed to get from the CHIPS Act, but in place, you're going to have to give them some equity in the company. So it's not free money. It may be a little bit accelerated from what the original vision was for the CHIPS Act. Intel, for example, may be able to get that $10.9 billion that they were supposed to get a bit sooner, but still, it's not free money. They still have to go out there. They have to prove that they can succeed in the foundry business. And to your point, then they need to go out and get customers. The U.S. government can do a lot, but it can't get Intel customers for that foundry business.